SEC, SEC to the Big 12. The West Virginia Mountaineers and Neil Brown have landed a big-time recruit out of the SEC. We're going to talk about that and the impact on this football program on the other side of the intro on this episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football.
This is for Cameron.
What is up and welcome in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul, and you have landed yourself here again at Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Guys, it's welcome news to hear out of the transfer portal, especially after the flipping of Jalen Ellis to Colorado last week. We're certainly grateful to hear that Neil Brown and company have landed another Power 5 player out of the transfer portal. Managing editor of Rivals, friend of the show, West Virginia Sports.com, Keenan Cummings, wrote this article on the Rivals site earlier, just not even an hour ago. Kentucky defensive end transfer Tomiwa Durojaiye, I'm sorry I butchered that name, guys, listed West Virginia in his top options the first time around in his recruitments, but things didn't align. Turns out the second time was the charm for the pass rusher. Durojaiye, 6'4", 275 pounds, was a key target for the Mountaineers during his initial recruitment as the Big 12 Conference program made his final five before he eventually selected the Wildcats. But there was a connection established with lead recruiter, defensive coordinator Jordan Leslie, and defensive line coach A.J. Jackson. That came in handy when he elected to enter the transfer portal after a season at Kentucky, and the Mountaineers were one of the first programs to get involved. And it goes on, I won't read the entire article, guys, but it goes on to say that he visited from between May 3rd and 5th. He has all 4 years of eligibility remaining, guys, which is a good thing. He's a string of additions and what looks up to be a bulked up D line now with Tomiwa out of Penn State, Devon Hawkins out of Tennessee State, Tyron Bradley out of Abilene Christian, and now this kid out of Kentucky, making him the 12th transfer addition on the season. So this is a kid that does not have a ton of experience coming in. He does have a year in a Power 5 program and in a Power 5 weight room. That's a big deal. But he only played 22 snaps at Kentucky. But when you really think about it, as a true freshman, that's not too bad. 16 of those were in pass rushing situations, so Kentucky kind of knew what he was last year. He was more of a pure pass rusher. This offseason, it seems like he's bulked up to be able to play against the run some more, which is great. If you go to his Twitter page, he has some film of him playing in hand in the dirt D end. And he's got some really impressive skills that are on display. I don't really know who he was going against at Kentucky in those videos, but he was winning those battles. Some of the things I was able to pick out that he does really well, he's got really good get-off. He uses his hands really well. It seems like he's taken the teachings of Kentucky really well. And they don't play in the SEC, as we know, guys, especially on the defensive line. You can argue that the best defensive linemen in the country go to the SEC year in and year out. Much like quarterbacks are known to go to the Big 12, or at least in the past. Similar for D lineman in the SEC. And this kid is most definitely a full-grown man. If you like what you see here, guys, I'd ask that you subscribe to Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Guys, we're at around 900 subscribers. 100 more subscribers gets us to 1,000, lets me monetize this channel, and gives me an income to start putting things back into the channel, investing into myself. If you could subscribe to Mountaineer Paul Talks Football, I would really appreciate that, guys. At this point, I just need to get to that 1,000 number. We want you to come back. Also, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about the Kentucky transfer, guys. Is it a big deal? Do you wish you would have had more production? I'd like to hear your voice on that. And lastly, guys, like the video. If you can't do anything else, move your finger a couple inches and like the video. That helps a whole hell of a lot. I'm not going to lie, guys. This was a big need on the defensive line. Glad we got the kid. But in my personal opinion, I think wide receiver is number one, followed by will linebacker. I wish those two spots would be addressed before we get into summer camp, and maybe they will be. certainly expect a few more guys to come into Morgantown. Hopefully they're as high end as this kid or with as much upside as this kid. But you never know with the transfer portal these days. Hopefully the million for May is going to help. Guys, look for Amanda Maisie to be on the channel tomorrow. We have a scheduled interview with her and the Country Roads Trust people. Really excited about that. Really excited about the possibilities where that conversation can go. So be waiting for tomorrow, guys, as I bring Amanda Maisie on and have her on and talk about the Country Roads Trust. Really appreciate you guys for stopping in, watching another episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. An SEC defensive lineman from Kentucky is now calling West Virginia home. Glad to see it. Happy you stopped by, guys. This has been another edition of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. This episode is over. I am out.
This is for Cameron. Tim King.